comparative cultures major and has just added, and politics as well, and has just added grants to her suite of programming. And she visited Costa Rica as part of a program in December, fairly recent program, and is now working with a collaborative project moving forward for some work to be done in the future, also in Costa Rica, so showing sort of this continuity of developing relationships. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for taking time out every Friday. This is my presentation on Cultivating Connections in Curriculum, Part 1. So a little bit about me. My name is Christy. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a 4th year undergraduate student at Michigan State, soon to be 5th year student, graduating in December. 21 years old, and here are my degrees here as we kind of already listed. So I'm going to tell a little bit of a story. My story begins in May of 2020, very briefly after the pandemic started. And this was a very challenging time for a lot of people, including myself. I had just moved home to my hometown after almost 2 full years as an independent college student. My social life was squashed. I was on Zoom classes with blank black squares because nobody really wanted to participate online. And I just spent a lot of time in my childhood bedroom. So in this kind of mindset, I was looking for a sense of purpose, a sense of connection. And I specifically remember telling my mom that it was just, the only thing I wanted was to feel like there was a sense of a direction in my life and a sense of purpose in the work that I was doing, while we're in these really isolating times. And when I was in this kind of headspace, I ended up getting an email about some summer courses that are going to be offered. And one of them had this tagline for the title that was called, How Do We Connect? And it immediately struck me. I just knew this was something I had to do. The course was actually on the topic of global virtual community engagement, which is something that's obviously we haven't done before this pandemic. So it was kind of a pioneer course in that it incorporated MSU students that took the course. There were a number of mentors from various fields, and it also included community partners from all around the world. And I was partnered with a mentor and a community partner. Community partner's name is Brian, the mentor's name is Brian, the community partner's name is Mauro, and we ended up collaborating on a research question and a research project that focused on the community of Palmichal in Costa Rica. And we looked at water shortages, where they're coming from, did some surveys, wrote a paper, really meaningful work, and ended up being the absolute highlight of my summer. So from there, I ended up actually working more with these people, so I want to talk about them a little bit. So this is Mauro. He is our community member liaison in Palmichal, Costa Rica. And he's actually a 3rd year student at the College of Atlantic in Maine. And his specialty is in environmental and ecological issues. And then he also carries a lot of knowledge about the community of Palmichal and also Costa Rica more generally speaking. And then we also have my other co-collaborator, Brian. He's like a mentor of sorts to our group and works closely with us. He's the Assistant Director of Student Affairs and International Engagement Coordinator for the MSc College of Social Science. Some of you may know him. And he specializes in study abroad and research in experiential learning and how those two things kind of combine. So that's just some background about my team. So after our course ended, we ended up actually collaborating further into a current project. So what we're doing right now is we are working on a grant proposal. So last fall in November, Mauro came to us and said, hey, there's this grant for up to $10,000 through the ARCA Network for Civic Global Engagement, and I would like you to collaborate with me on this so we can all work together and do some really meaningful work. With this, we really wanted to focus on all our strengths so we could all get as much out of this as possible. So for Mauro, that means environmental kind of focus. For his community, for Brian, that means experiential learning. And for me, it means disseminating knowledge as an undergraduate student and just gaining as much as possible from this process. So what we ended up settling on is an experiential learning curriculum on environmental topics for youth in the Palmichal community. And our goal is to partner with the MSU first year seminar abroad program that goes to Costa Rica this summer, and work with those students, and then also heavily use the organization of Visionarios de Paz. So Visionarios is a community organization in Palmichal. This is their vision statement here, and it was actually co-founded by my co-collaborator Mauro. And so this was like a really cool opportunity for us to work with a very new organization that has just kick-started and is doing some really meaningful work already. So here we have some more information about them. So here's a picture of Maro, my co-collaborator, and the other founder, Rebecca. Last summer they did a very similarly structured project, which is called Projects for Peace. And they were awarded a $10,000 grant that they used for youth to learn about environmental and sustainability issues. So they actually ended up building an entire greenhouse with this grant, and there's some pictures here of this project that they were doing, like in action, all the youth that were there, and it was during, an intense part of the pandemic, so everyone's masked, everyone's got their matching shirts, huge success for a very new organization, and we're really excited about partnering with them. And here's another photo of all the students. Yeah. So kind of condensing our history together, here's a timeline. So we start in 2018 when my co-partners, Mario and Brian, actually met during a first year summer abroad program. There's a photo of them down there. I joined the partnership in summer of 2020, and then a really important part of this timeline is number 3, which is at the end of the course, we really conveyed that we really enjoyed our collaborations. We thought we were doing really meaningful work, and even though we were all virtually connecting, we all felt a deep sense of connection and like a sense of friendship and collaboration. And so that was a really key part of this, and that it helped us move forward and like connect. We were in the same cities and work together on future projects. And that's actually what happened in fall of 2021, about a year later, when Mauro introduced the idea of the project. And then around that time, we actually all got to meet together for the first time as a full group at MSU, because Mauro was in town and we all got to get together and just hang out for a little bit. So very rewarding after many years doing stuff online. And in the second half of this timeline, I actually ended up traveling to Costa Rica this last winter in December. There's a photo of me down there in San Luis, which was a very, very rewarding experience too, because it was, once again, seeing all this hard work pay off in terms of doing many years of virtual engagement, and then finally being there and seeing all the people that you connect with online. Where we are currently is we are in the process of completing the grant proposal. We're really putting the time in to make sure it's a great proposal, it's really solid, that we can get the funding that we need. And in the future, we hope to submit the proposal and receive approval. And then the goal is that in summer, in August, we will travel to Costa Rica and implement our curriculum with the MSU first year seminar abroad students and Visio and Audio deposits. So that's kind of like our concrete steps. The ultimate goal kind of surrounding this is that the MSU first year seminar abroad students would be able to further disseminate this knowledge into like a part 2. So we hope that this is not the end of our program, not the end of our curriculum, and that people can continue to like learn from what we do and continue to disseminate this knowledge in like a future conference or something like this. And then additionally, yeah, we would like for our curriculum to be kind of like a pioneer curriculum that really centers the community as like the people that are directing the curriculum instead of like the university, because the community knows itself best, and working in collaboration with the university really helps to make a really solid curriculum. So throughout this whole process, I wanted to highlight a few themes that I thought were really important. First one is going to be growth. So it's kind of one of the themes of this conference in general. And our growth throughout this process has been multifaceted. So we really wanted to pull from our strengths for this project, because we each have very unique specialty fields. And in doing this, we actually created a very interdisciplinary approach to this program. And being interdisciplinary just means that like everyone gains something, no matter who they are, whether it's us or if it's the MSU first year seminar abroad students or the youth in Palmy Chow. So in this sense, very co-beneficial, very rewarding for all parties involved. And also provides some organizational growth for MSU in terms of the fact that MSU gets to pioneer this multi-format engagement process, whether it's partially Zoom, it's partially in person. It's a really unique way for the university to show how these global engagement opportunities really pay off. And it's really important to continue to provide these opportunities, even if they're not traditionally like they always have been before the pandemic. And then for Visio and Audio deposits, it's also really important that they have opportunities to educate the youth in the community because it's their entire mission. And so in that sense, they have some organizational growth in that too. Another really important theme throughout this has been sustainability. So we kind of looked at like the 3P kind of model in terms of people, profit, and the planet. For people, it's really important that these partnerships are long-term. We're not looking at short-term, just like going and coming back. We're looking at sustaining these relationships with specific people and also like with entire organizations. And we also want to make sure that this program benefits the community as number one. And all the work that we do ends up actually genuinely helping and making the community better. In that sense, also, we want to make sure that we're investing our money, not just in the trip, but also in the community itself. Because we talked a lot about how some education abroad programs, just all the money goes towards like actually getting to the community and the program itself, but the money doesn't go towards like the community itself. So we really want to make sure we're investing our profits or our money into the community. And then the final thing is the planet, which is pretty self-explanatory in that we want to make sure our efforts and our money both go into sustainable investments, and we do that partially by partnering with Visio and Adrian's Deposit because they are a very environmental organization. And finally, we also talked about the curriculum aspect. We want a curriculum that is sustainable and that it can continue to be taught. It's not just for this one situation, and that it can be passed along as knowledge, not just from us to other people or from other people, like it can be continued throughout circles of family and friends, and the education doesn't just end with us. On less of like a happy note, one of the main themes throughout this presentation is this idea of like tenacity. So it's really hard to connect during a pandemic. It's just really difficult. I think we can all acknowledge that. So kind of sustaining these partnerships, especially when you're based on Zoom, it can get really rough. And we've had a lot of moments where we check in and just make sure we're okay, because sometimes we're just not really in the mood to get on a Zoom call, and that's okay. It just means we won't meet as much because it's the only way we can meet. But the hard work goes on, and that's why I say it takes hard work and then more hard work, because it's burnout, you have multiple things going on, it's hybrid formats now, it's so many things play into this. But what makes this connection really unique is that we have continually acknowledged how much this means to each other, and that our work is really meaningful, and that we have maintained this connection over time. We've transferred from virtual to in person. We've met in person multiple times now, because I actually ended up meeting Mario when I was in Costa Rica. And that's what keeps us going. It's just knowing that we will be able to meet again in the future, and that we can have our Zoom calls be rewarding and not just like a place where we can also converse and just visit and have a great time. And then finally, kind of tying this all together, there's this huge theme of connection throughout this. Connection is like a human need. Throughout the pandemic, we all kind of felt that. And using different formats can help throughout hard times, like whether it's Zoom, in person, or otherwise, just texting someone. We need to connect with each other in whatever ways we can, even though the format might change a little bit. And finding genuine connection these days, I think, is arguably pretty difficult. So just when you find these connections and you feel really compelled to take on a project or continue a partnership, it's just about leaning into that, conveying that you appreciate people, and letting that help your hard days be a little bit easier too. So with that, I kind of wanted to link back to the beginning and say that we can connect. The formats and the norms and the rules might be rewritten. They may continue to be rewritten, and that's just how the world is right now. But it's really important to take opportunities when you're compelled to. If you see something that you are, sparks interest, jump on it, try it, see where it goes, and don't be afraid to convey that you really appreciate people when you have a really great partnership. And it's also really important to have these opportunities to begin with. It's crucial to have opportunities to engage globally, even if it's virtually, or even if it's short-term, long-term. Having those opportunities there to begin with is what allows this project to happen. And so with that, I want to just finish by saying that connection is possible and we need it.